Karen Reed is accused of hitting John O'Keefe with her SUV and leaving him to die in the snow.
Their relationship was not a happy one.
Not a single witness actually saw this happen.
There's a whole other side of the story.
January 29th, 2022. A blizzard blankets Canton, Massachusetts. A Boston police officer lies dying in the snow outside a colleague's home. His girlfriend will be accused of murder. But what if the real killers are the ones investigating the crime? This is the story of Karen Reed, equity analyst turned accused killer. A case that would expose the rotten heart of a tight-knit community where loyalty runs deeper than truth, and where asking the wrong questions could make you the next target. Welcome to Canton's darkest secret. Karen Reed seemed to have it all. A successful financial analyst living in the affluent Boston suburb of Mansfield. Smart, ambitious, financially independent. But Karen carried shadows from her past, a history of relationships that never quite worked out, a pattern of drinking that worried those closest to her. Enter John O'Keefe, 46 years old, 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department, a devoted single father raising his niece and nephew after their parents died tragically young. To the outside world, John was the good guy, the dependable cop who coached Little League and never missed a family barbecue. Karen and John's relationship was intense from the start. 2 years of passion, fights, reconciliation. Friends described it as volatile, explosive arguments followed by passionate makeups. But beneath the surface, cracks were showing. Karen's drinking was getting worse. John was pulling away. By January 2022, those who knew them best could sense the end was coming. What nobody predicted was just how violent that end would be and how it would tear apart an entire community. Canton, Massachusetts. Population 24,000, a place where everyone knows everyone, where the same families have lived for generations, where cops drink with cops and secrets stay buried. The perfect place for a cover-up, if you know the right people. January 28, 2022, 9 p.m. Karen and John start their night at CF McCarthy's in Canton. Surveillance footage shows Karen downing 7 drinks in under 2 hours. Witnesses would later describe the couple as tense, John seemingly eager to leave. 10:40 p.m. They drive to the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Dedham. More drinks, more tension. John gets a text. There's an after party at fellow officer Brian Albert's house back in Canton. Karen doesn't want to go. The argument that follows will be their last. 34 Fairview Road. The Albert house, a colonial and a quiet neighborhood where cops and their families often gathered. But this wasn't just any cop's house. Brian Albert was connected, influential, part of Canton's inner circle. What happened inside that house would become the center of a mystery that still haunts this town. 12:45 a.m., January 29th. Karen claims she dropped John off at the party and drove home, alone. She says she never went inside, never saw who was there, never knew what happened next. But someone at that party knows the truth, and they've been lying about it ever since. 6:04 a.m. Karen returns to the Albert house, panicked. She claims she was worried because John never came home. What she finds will haunt her forever. John O'Keefe lying face down in the snow, broken and bleeding. Hypothermia and blunt force trauma would kill him at the hospital. The investigation moved fast, too fast. Within hours, Karen Reed went from grieving girlfriend to prime suspect. The story police told was simple. Karen was drunk, jealous, and angry. She hit John with her SUV and left him to die in a blizzard. Case closed. And then the internet got involved. True crime enthusiasts, amateur detectives, and Karen Reed supporters flooded social media with theories, timelines, and accusations. Free Karen Reed began trending. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse, a sleepy suburb had become the center of a national obsession. July 2024. After 9 weeks of testimony and 5 days of deliberation, the jury was deadlocked. Mistrial. The prosecution vowed to try again. Karen Red would have to face it all over again. But this time, the whole world was watching. Let's talk about what the prosecution didn't want you to know. The Canton Police Department's investigation was a masterclass in how not to solve a murder. Crime scene contaminated, evidence lost, key witnesses never properly interviewed. But it gets worse. Leaked text messages revealed that investigators were joking about the case, calling Karen a whack job before they'd even interviewed her. Lead investigator Michael Proctor texted about searching her underwear drawer and made crude comments about her appearance. This wasn't professional police work, this was personal. And then there were the connections. Brian Albert, whose house became the crime scene, had family throughout the Canton Police Department. His brother was a sergeant. His nephew was on the force. The medical examiner who performed John's autopsy. She was dating a Canton police officer. Phone records showed something even more disturbing. Multiple people at the Albert house that night had deleted their call logs and text messages from the hours surrounding John's death. What were they hiding? What did they need to erase? Karen's defense team presented a chilling alternative. John never made it to his car that night. He was killed inside the Albert house, beaten to death by people he trusted. His body was then moved outside to stage the hit and run, the snow, the cold, the confusion of the storm. It was the perfect cover for murder. And here's the kicker. Within weeks of John's death, Brian Albert sold his house and moved to Florida, but not before completely renovating the basement and replacing the flooring. Destroying evidence or just a coincidence? You decide. June 2025. After a second trial that gripped the nation, Karen Reed was acquitted of murder charges but convicted of drunk driving. The prosecution's case had crumbled under scrutiny, but acquittal isn't vindication, and the real questions remain unanswered. Did Karen Reed kill John O'Keefe in a drunken rage, or was she the perfect patsy for a group of connected cops who needed someone to blame for their crime? The jury said the prosecution couldn't prove murder beyond a reasonable doubt, but they couldn't prove her innocence either. In Canton, Massachusetts, the truth is still buried under layers of lies, loyalty, and fear. A town that closed ranks to protect its own. A police department that may have let killers walk free to frame an innocent woman. A system that values reputation over justice. John O'Keefe deserved better than this. He deserved the truth. And somewhere in Canton, someone knows exactly what happened in that house on Fairview Road. Someone who's still free, still lying, still covering up the darkest secret this town has ever kept. But secrets have a way of coming out eventually. What do you think happened that night? Was Karen Red guilty of murder, or guilty only of being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into America's most controversial true crime cases, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because in our next episode we're investigating another case where the cover-up might be worse than the crime. Until next time, question everything.